Now, if your reel looks like this one, which is kind of exaggerated, but there are reels out there, if it's this bad where you got to remove this much metal, you're going to want to pull it off and grind it. If it takes you more than a half an hour to grind, you need to consider removing the reel from the unit, put it in a grinder, and actually grind it, because that thing has gone so far that it needs to be ground. What we've set up is 3 stations out here. And we're going to show you how to backlap the John Deere fairway mower. We're going to show you how to backlap the Jacobson greens mower, and how to use a stationary lapping machine and backlap one reel at a time. There are some machines that don't have onboard backlapping. If you're going to do that, then you have to use a stationary lapping machine. That one's designed to turn 1. I've been to courses where they build these special jigs and they'll actually turn 5 or 6 reels in a row. Line them up on the floor and use one of those lapping machines and turn a couple of reels. It takes a lot of power to turn 5 reels with a lapping compound. It just takes a lot of energy. So one of the problems that they've had is if something gets caught in there, you put too much lapping compound on one at one time, it causes the lapping machine to sit there and flop over a couple of times, and it's kind of hard on it. So you want to make sure it's heavy, it's anchored down pretty well. And so we're going to look at some pictures. And I tried to take some pictures of reels. And this reel right here is this one here. And what I'm looking at, if I'm trying to determine, should I be backlapping, should I be grinding, should I be doing something to this reel? Or I've been backlapping, and have I gone far enough? The way what you're looking for, or the way you're looking at it, is going to be right here. This white line that you see right here, that's the determining factor. That's that rounded edge that we've seen in the other slide. You're going to look kind of at a 45-degree angle to this point. And you're looking for a reflection of light. If I can see the light reflecting at me, what I'm looking at is a rounded edge. And if you run your finger across it, it'll just roll over nice and easy, and you'll be able to feel it. And you'll also be able to see it. That is the edge that I'm trying to get rid of. So when I backlap this thing, I'm going to backlap it, or I'm going to grind it until I cannot see any white line. That's what you're looking for. And you can feel it. After a while, you can get a feel for what it should feel like, but you can also look at it and see what it is I'm looking for. This particular reel, this area right here, is called the land. That's the flat surface that's running all the way across the bed knife. When that area gets 3/4 of the way across the width of the blade, then you need to put this thing into a grinder and actually grind it. And what you're going to do is you're going to put a relief grind back in the back. I'm going to take off that excess metal and put that relief back in there. Because the relief does 2 things. One, it reduces the amount of metal rubbing the bed knife or coming in close proximity to the bed knife. It shouldn't be touching it. That's going to reduce horsepower requirements to turn the reels, which reduces strain on the hydraulic motors, hydraulic pumps, and it conserves fuel economy. So this is what I'm looking at. This particular reel is about halfway across. If I choose, I can backlap it because I have a ways to go. So I'm going to backlap this thing and bring it back up to a square edge. This picture is that reel that's over there. And looking at it, you can see we have a much wider area here. So I still have a lot of room to either backlap it or grind it, whichever I'm going to choose. What I was trying to get you to see in this picture were pits. Every one of these white lines right here is actually an indentation in that blade. And what happened is this thing sat out here over the winter. It got dirt and sand and stuff like that because we've got a gravel parking lot. The gravel, the sand got on there and it actually rusted pits in there. We bring it back in. We want to put it out in service. What's going to happen if I try to cut paper with it? Some areas of that reel are going to cut paper really well, and some areas are not. This is an example of parking out in the weather or leaving this reel sit with grass pinched between or grass in the reel and letting it sit for a weekend. Even over a weekend, if grass is pinched between the reel because it wasn't washed properly, it's going to cause it to pit, and it's not going to cut paper very well. It doesn't take very long for this metal to actually pit. If this is this particular reel right here, looking at it, the land area has gone almost all the way across. We're at least 3/4 of the way. To actually take this thing and backlap it to try to make it square, by the time I get done backlapping it, I'm probably going to reach halfway across this relief area, which just about takes the relief out. So this reel, it needs to be sharpened. It needs to be removed. We need to put the land back in, and then we'll spin grind it and make it a cylinder again. Again, I'm looking at this white edge right here, and I'm looking to see how sharp it is. A couple other things you're going to do is you're checking these reels to see what I need to do. You're also looking for physical damage. Here's a reel that sustains some sort of impact damage. The reel's turning this direction. You can see that this blade is bent. This one's bent even more. And then the next blade is missing a chunk. This kind of damage here actually is not going to be harmful. If you've got a reel that caught a spike, like a shoe spike or a golf spike from a little tee, or a stick or a rock, and it bends one of these blades, you can actually keep it in service and it'll be fine. It may have contact, so you hear it tick, 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 tick. You may need to take it in the shop and actually grind that high spot off to get rid of the tick, but it's fine. When you lose a chunk of the blade like this much, you're going to start seeing little straggles where you're actually leaving spots of grass. If the next reel covers that up and takes it out, you could get by with it. But if it gets any further than this, you're going to actually start leaving straggles out on the course. And so you would want to remove and replace that particular reel. And so physical damage is something that you're looking for, and it happens. I've seen brand new blades within 10 minutes get chunks taken out of them, and you have to throw it away. So those are things you're looking for. If you get one that's bent really bad, it's got a really high spot, you can put it into a reel grinder, spin it. As long as it's a cylinder, it doesn't matter if one of these kind of has a curve in it. It's when it actually has a big chunk missing that you have problems. If you have one that has little nicks in it, you're trying to grind, you can't backlap gouges and nicks out. If it's really wavy, you've had a rifling because the reel's bed knife was too tight, then you need to grind. Those are all examples of when you would have to grind versus trying to do some short-term measure, which would be back.